Palestine authorities registered more than 22,000 Palestinians killed since the beginning of the year 2023. In Russia, 24 civilians were killed as a result of the Ukrainian shelling of the city of Belgorod. In addition, 107 people were injured of varying severity, including children. And the world is celebrating the New Year 2024 with impressive light and fireworks displays. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Palestinian Central Statistics Office reported more than 22,000 Palestinians killed since the beginning of the year 2023. According to recent data from the organization, 22,404 Palestinians were killed since January 2023, including 22,141 registered since October 7th. Among them, some 9,000 children and 6,450 women. According to Health Ministry records, there were 319 murders in the West Bank, including 111 children and 4 women. The Health Ministry also reported more than 100 journalists killed in the framework of the Tel Aviv attacks in the last 3 months. According, authorities also registered more than 7,000 missing people, 67% of whom are children and women. New airstrikes carried out in Palestine by Israel's occupying forces left at least 130 civilians killed and dozens wounded, including children and women. This Sunday, health authorities reported a new airstrike in Al-Zaytu neighborhood in the north-central Gaza Strip. They also reported at least 12 massacres during the last 24 hours in civilian residential areas located in the surroundings of Al-Aqsa University. In this regard, the official balance confirms an increase toward 21,800 people killed by the Israeli regime, while the number of wounded has risen to nearly 56,450, in addition to thousands of people missing, women and children including. Although December 31st is a day of celebration in most parts of the world, let us not forget that in some areas people are dying and facing the horrors of war. To learn more about the situation in the Gaza Strip, here's Nur Harsim with the details.
As people around the world are celebrating the end of this year and welcoming 2024, here in the Gaza Strip, actually, the people are full of sadness and grief. Reporting about the latest on the ground, actually today was one of the deadliest days in Gaza. 40 people from Selmi family were killed in an Israeli strike on the Al-Zaytun neighborhood in northern Gaza. 25 people were killed in an Israeli strike in the Islamic University in Gaza. 20 other people were killed inside the Al-Aqsa University in northern Gaza. Also, in one of the latest Israeli attacks here in Middle Gaza, the Israeli warplanes targeted Sukaina bint al-Hussein school, killing 2 people and injuring tens among the displaced people who were taking shelter inside the UN school. Palestinian Health Ministry talked about the death toll of the day, saying that it is up to 165 Palestinians killed here in New Year's Eve, and this is how Gaza is goodbying this year and welcoming the new year, adding the fact that the Palestinians are already suffering because of the lack of humanitarian aid, no access to clean water and no access to food. Nur Harazin, TeleSUR, Gaza.
The United Nations reported more than 100,000 displaced Palestinians arrived in Rafah, southern Gaza Strip in the last few days. Thousands of families are camping overcrowded and unsanitary conditions after losing their homes to Israeli bombardment. The displaced were arriving at the site in trucks, cars, or on foot, carrying the few belongings they managed to save. Many of them did not find a place in the already overwhelmed shelters and claim that there are no safe places. The unprecedented Israeli air and ground siege against the Palestinian population has displaced some 85% of the 2.3 million residents of the Gaza Strip. Israeli occupation forces have renewed attacks to the border area in southern Lebanon. Saturday night and Sunday morning, Tel Aviv launched attacks on the villages on the coast and the central area of the border. Given continued Israeli aggression, Hezbollah leaders said the path of the resistance is to support Gaza, despite the threats coming from Israel and its allies. Hezbollah said the occupation's attacks are a response to its inability to subdue the Palestinian people. The exchange of aggressions between Israel and the Lebanese Hezbollah resistance escalated after Tel Aviv launched its siege against the Gaza Strip on October 7th. In China, the death toll following the 6.2 magnitude earthquake that struck the autonomous county of Jishishan a week ago has risen to 151. The relief center in the Gansu province reported the death toll remains at 117, while in Qinghai City the number of fatalities rose to 34. Damage was also reported in some 215,000 homes in the two provinces. Local authorities and institutions have built a total of 15,812 prefabricated houses to provide shelter for residents affected by the earthquake. Meanwhile, China's Communist Party, several ministries and the central government have allocated millions of dollars to support relief efforts for quake victims. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. Ecuador ends the year 2023 as the country with the most violence in Latin America. According to statistics, every hour a person dies at the hands of criminal violence, totaling more than 7,400 people murdered up to December 17. The data indicate that the rate of violent death in Ecuador is higher than 40 per 100,000 inhabitants. To the wave of national violence must be added the constant prison massacres, in which some 89 prisoners lost their lives in the last 12 months, according to the Permanent Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. Experts point to the boom in drug trafficking and the economic crisis as causes of the violence, which leads to a lack of employment, mainly for young people who see the world of crime as a possibility of income. In the United States, in this month of December alone, over 225,000 migrants have been detained at the border with Mexico. Homeland Security Department statistics from December 1st till the 28th show that the Border Patrol has arrested over 225,000 people in an attempt to stop the influx into U.S. territory. Meanwhile, the Immigration and Customs Control Service has deported over 142,000 undocumented migrants caught at the border. Given the situation, the governments of Mexico and the United States held negotiations aimed at a migratory agreement in exchange for support to an extra military aid package for Ukraine. In Russia, 24 people have been killed and more than 100 wounded in the bombardment of the city of Belgorod by the Ukrainian armed forces. The army of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attacked with multiple rocket launchers provided by the United States and other NATO member countries the Russian city of Belgorod, located some 30 kilometers from the border. Authorities said that at least 4 children were among the dead. Although the Russian anti-aircraft defense managed to shoot down most of the projectiles, some fragments hit several houses and electric transmission lines. The province of Belgorod has been so far the most affected by the conflict in the last month, with several incursions of Ukrainian sabotage groups and continuous attacks on border municipalities. Russian armed forces in Kharkov overthrew the organizers and responsible for the bombing in Belgorod. A new high-precision missile attack on the former Kharkov Palace hotel complex eliminated a representative of the Defense Ministry's main intelligence directorate actively involved in the organization of sabotage operations on Russian territory. On the other hand, fuel bases were destroyed in Kharkov regions, from where groups of Ukrainian troops were being supplied en route to Kharkov and Orekov. As a result, Kiev suffered significant losses where 2 launchers were destroyed, with the help of which the Kiev regime was planning to launch missile attacks against the Russian city of Donetsk on New Year's holidays.
In response to the terrorist act, the armed forces of the Russian Federation struck decision-making centers and military facilities in the city of Kharkiv, which were used by the criminal Kiev regime. A high-precision missile strike on the former Kharkiv Palace Hotel complex killed many top commanders of the Ukrainian army who were directly involved in the planning and execution of the terrorist act in Belgorod.
И исполнении теракта в Белгороде. Там же находились до 200 иностранных наемников.
There were also up to 200 foreign mercenaries who were scheduled to be involved in terrorist raids on the territory of the Russian Federation border in Ukraine. High-precision missile strikes on the building of the Ukrainian Security Service in the Kharkiv region and the temporary deployment site of the Nationalist Right Sector formation killed representatives of the Ukrainian Domestic Security Service, SBU staff, foreign mercenaries, and fighters of the Kraken unit.
In Russia, President Vladimir Putin assured that in the new year there will be no force to stop the country's development. In his New Year's speech, the president noted that the Eurasian country firmly defended its interests and values in the year 2023 that is coming to an end and expects to move forward and create in the future. He also said that he is capable of carrying out difficult tasks in order not to regress and to continue advancing for the freedom, security and values of the Russian nation. Putin assured that there is no force that can divide them. In this sense, the president hopes that the year 2024 will be a better year for Russian families and that they will be able to become a great country. Felix Tshisekedi, president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, was re-elected for a second 5-year term after securing 73.34% of the total votes cast on December 20th election. As reported by the National Independent Electoral Commission on Sunday, Tshisekedi was followed by businessman Moise Katumbi, who obtained 18% of the votes, and Martin Fayulu, who obtained 5%. According to the Commission, more than 18 million people voted in these elections, out of a total of 44 million registered voters. The results will be forwarded to the Constitutional Court for confirmation. The final results are expected to be released on January 10th, and the president is scheduled to be officially sworn into office at the end of that month. In Spain, social, feminist and progressive movements took to the streets to protest against the detention centers for foreigners, calling for their closure as they are considered prisons for migrants. The demonstration was held at the Foreigner Internment Center in Barcelona, demanding freedom for those detained for migration. In this sense, demonstrators warned that the internment centers function as prisons, where migrants are kept under the excuse of granting them identification and migration papers. Social movements announced that these centers do not provide proper medical, psychological, or social care for those who are forced to leave their countries due to conflicts and the world economic crisis. We now have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. This December 31st, the world bids farewell to the year 2023 and welcomes the arrival of 2024 with joy and hope. Every corner of the planet is preparing for this event, which includes colorful and festive events, fireworks, large crowds in the streets, and even traditional religious celebrations. We invite you to follow us with this journey to welcome the new year. China welcomes the new year with its traditional fireworks display. Hong Kong celebrated the start of the year in Victoria Harbour. Bangkok, capital of Thailand, also welcomed 2024 with an impressive fireworks display, while in Taipei, on the island of Taiwan, the traditional countdown was held. Tokyo turns into a festive scene seconds after greeting 2024 and lights up with fireworks. North and South Korea also welcomed the new year with happiness. Sydney commemorates 2024 with a grandiose fireworks display over the bay and its famous Opera House, the meeting place per excellence and today the heart of the party. New Zealand was one of the first nations to welcome 2024 with a light show from the Sky Tower and the Auckland Harbour Bridge. New Zealanders took part in the celebrations to welcome 2024. As usual, the countdown was announced from the capital city of Auckland in northern New Zealand, where people enjoyed the fireworks exploding in the night sky. The top of the Sky Tower was lit up in majestic colors to mark the celebration. The whole display was broadcast on local television and digital platforms so that those not present at the tower could enjoy the celebrations. In Russia, the New Year is one of the most important celebrations that the nation celebrates, accompanied by incredible fireworks and light shows in the square of the Palace of St. Petersburg and the Red Square of Moscow. Due to the large territorial expansion of the country, only the Far East was the first to begin the celebrations by the inhabitants. The Siberian region was the first to usher the New Year 2024. The government of France deployed nearly 90,000 police and military personnel to ensure security during the end-of-year celebrations. The Ministry of Interior, Gerald Darmanin, expressed his congratulations to the forces of law and order for their work during the Christmas celebrations, in the midst of which they guaranteed the tranquility of the festivities. He also expressed his expectation that the same will happen this Sunday during the New Year's Eve celebrations. Of the more than 90,000 troops mobilized, 6,000 will have the mission of surveillance in the city of Paris, capital of the country, where hundreds of French people and tourists are expected to gather to welcome the year 2024 in emblematic sites such as the Eiffel Tower and the Avenue des Champs-Élysées. In China, President Xi Jinping provided an assessment of the economic and social achievements made in 2023. As part of the New Year celebration, the president highlighted the challenges he had to face, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, economic recovery, and industrial modernization. Xi Jinping reaffirmed Beijing's commitment to integration and security in order to consolidate people's trust. During his New Year greetings, he stated and urged the people to be united by a common sense of purpose and share the glory of the nation's revival. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa also sent a message of hope and optimism as part of the end-of-year celebrations. In his words, the president expressed his gratitude to all those who work every day for making his country a much better place. Likewise, he highlighted the national achievements in education, employment, health, housing, among other fields. Ramaphosa also recalled that the 2024 South Africans will celebrate 30 years since they achieved freedom, something that marked the beginning of enormous changes in the nation, while expressing his hope that 2024 will bring better things for the country and its people. Now we go to Turkey, to Istanbul, the city that was once Constantinople. A submerged palace awaits us, a story of mythology and its modern retelling. A correspondent in Turkey, Yunus Soner, will take us to the subway and surreal.
Here we are in the center, the heart of the historical part of Istanbul, in front of a door that seems opaque, that seems insignificant, but hides one of the wonders of this city. The Turks call it the submerged palace. In Latin, it is called the Basilica Cistern. We feel a lot of humidity here because we are in a cistern. Built in the year 532 during the Byzantine Empire, and it was a cistern to keep the water, to serve the water to the palace in front of it. With its 80,000 tons of water storage capacity, the Basilica Cistern was the largest covered cistern in the city. It is a huge rectangular structure 140 meters long and 70 meters wide, occupying an area of approximately 10,000 square meters. One of the most interesting points in the Basilica Cistern, or the submerged palace, is the statue of Medusa, the mythological figure. There are two statues that are turned upside down. And the legend says that this has been done on purpose to avoid the effect of the stare of the Medusa. And this story of the Medusa and her gaze is told today in the submerged palace, and we will see it now.
I was very excited when the project came out, and it impresses me every time I see it. It is the product of a year of hard work in difficult conditions. It is not a normal stage. The cistern is so wet, damp and depressed. The atmosphere is already wonderful, the music, the costumes, the dance. We even have a fragrance made for this performance. The result is fascinating and makes us very happy.
We can describe the performance as a sustainable experience. The performance tells the story of Medusa with dances while offering a tour of the museum.
According to one of the mythological narratives, Medusa was a woman of radiant beauty who lived in the temple and served Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. Poseidon, god of the seas, was the husband of Athena. Poseidon was attracted to the beauty of Medusa. One day, Poseidon raped Medusa. Realizing the profanation, Athena punished Medusa, transforming her into a snake-haired creature. From then on, Medusa petrified anyone who looked at her.
A partir de entonces, Medusa petrificaba a quien miraba.
Medusa is the first victim of female aberration in mythology. If we interpret it spiritually, the awakening of all women and females in the world begins right now. Being punished by a woman for a crime she didn't commit can also be interpreted as a betrayal of the sisterhood. Tonight, Medusa responds to this betrayal and injustice with her scream. I think the message that comes out of the story is that women who have been aggrieved have to speak up and they have to scream.
In the following part of the story, Perseus cut off Medusa's head and defeated many enemies using his stare. When Perseus killed Medusa, Pegasus was born from her womb. Pegasus immediately took to flight, climbed the mountain of Olympus, and began to serve Zeus, father of Athena.
Sube la montaña de Olimpos y empieza a servir a Zeus, quien es el padre de Atenea.
Meanwhile, statues of Medusa in the submerged palace continue to abduct visitors.
Siguen abduciendo a los visitantes. Yunus Soner, TeleSUR, Estambul.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on our social medias on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos Prieto. Happy New Year. See you in the next one.